Start with a piece of fabric that is 12 centimeters long and 10 centimeters wide. You want your print to be long ways. So if you have to worry about the direction of the print, you want to make sure that's your length of 12. Iron in half like a hamburger. So it should be about 6 inches tall and 10 inches wide. If you want to make smaller masks, like kid size mask, I usually go about 8 inches wide, and you can take about 1 inch off the top. So it just depends on what size mask you want to make.
Cool.
Mark 2.5 inches on the open side. So the fold is on the opposite side. So you're doing that on each side. You sew, you start and stop, so catch the seam from that edge to your mark, and from this edge to your mark, this leaves an opening in the center, and basically you have a tube. Iron down that seam, so there's your center opening. I just fold over the edge and iron it down. To sew this seam, you turn it like this, and you have to sew on the inside. Make sure you don't catch the fabric. So that shows one side with the seam. Turn it again to where you sew down that edge, catching the thread at the end of each, and back stitching at the end. Iron with the opening still right side on the inside there. Iron with maybe 1/2 inch, could be more or less. Just make sure that if you have an upright print, that when you turn it to the front, that's usually at the top, make sure your print is not upside down. Next part, you're doing the elastic, so you want to tuck it inside and about 1/8 inch from the edge, pin it. Make sure that you don't twist the elastic. And I use about 6.5 inches of the 1/4 elastic. So you pin it like that. Do it to the other side. And again, it's about 1/8 inch from the side of it.
Oh.
Once the elastic is in place, make a seam. Sewing the elastic, do both sides. Of course, make sure you backstitch so your stitch doesn't get lost. Remove pins. Turn inside out, so now the fabric is right side out, like that. So I iron it flat, making sure your edges are pulled out and your elastic is secure. Okay, sew a straight stitch once you have it ironed. Can you see that straight stitch? So sew that on each side. Now you can measure. I don't measure because it takes too much time, but I take where the opening is and I fold under, and I give anywhere from 1 inch to 1.5 inches on that top seam. I fold and pin, and again I'm going to make another underfold here, trying to make them about the same size. pin, and then I'm going to sew that. Now before I sew it, I just wanted to show that I tried to guesstimate the approximate size for each of the folds. Again, the top of the mask is here. I usually try to fold under going down, and it tends to open up a little bit better. So I did a straight seam right there along those folds. I trim any threads, and then your mask is ready to go. I cut just a random piece of batting, but you can use filters from air filters or from backing bags, and then I just kind of tuck that in just to show people where the pocket is. And then there's the finished product.